Hello there, friends. Hi, Lori from Minnesota. I see others are jumping right on. While we're waiting for others to jump on, today's September 2nd, right? September 2nd, Facebook Live. I'm going to just do a quick recap of what I did on my August 31st Facebook Live. On that day, I did 3 Z-fold cards featuring the beautiful Abigail Rose Designer Series paper. Here's all 3 of them. You can find these right here on Stampin' Piece with Mary Nabe, and they will be going on my blog in the next few days as well. And with that beautiful Abigail Rose Designer Series paper, you featured the Charming Sentiments bundle. This comes from our annual catalog, and it is one of the stamp sets that was in part designed by a $1 million sales achiever, my friend Lisa Curcio. So I absolutely just love it. I just received it in a Stampin' Up delivery this week, so I absolutely love it. It has all these wonderful sentiments, plus dies to coordinate with each one of the sentiments, plus some added dies in there, like hearts and stars and, gosh, what else is in there? I can't think. But little extras you might want to put on your cards with these amazing sentiments. I hope you saw my email newsletter yesterday, was last evening, and then I also posted it to my blog today, so you can find it there at stampinpiece.com. I included a link to, there's a creative project, but then I included a link to my September 1st email newsletter because it is loaded with Stampin' Up information that you will want to know. This month of September, we have a lot happening in Stampin' Up with some great promotions. Each of the next 4 weeks, we will have, beginning on each Thursday, we will have weekly deals. Will be a selection of items, products that are discounted and available at that discounted price for 1 week only. Some of my favorites this week are the Splendid Days Specialty Designer Series paper, the Brushed Brass Butterflies, and I'm like down to my last few of those. I think I have four or five left on the sheet, so I'm definitely ordering those. And then the craft note cards with the gift box. But in addition to those 3 favorites of mine, there are several others that you may want to take advantage of and order them now while you get them on sale, can get them on sale through September 7th. And then each week after that, there will be a new set of weekly deals, discounted products. Another promotion happening right now is the Perfect Partners promotion. Stampin' Up has chosen 6 stamp sets, standalone stamp sets from the annual and the mini catalog, and brought in a set of dies to go with each one of those. These are exclusive. They will not be included beyond September, so you'll want to buy them as quickly as possible. There are 6 different ones. 3 that I don't have yet are for the Mountain Canyon stamp set, and now I just went blank. I can't think of the other 2. Trimming the Tree stamp set, and it'll come to me. But 3 of the 6, I do have this little, or this birthday piggy. I always want to say this little piggy, but it's this birthday piggy. Apple Harvest. And then the one I'll be using for today's project is Fresh Cut Flowers. So, this birthday piggy and the Apple Harvest stamp sets I already had, so I just went ahead and purchased the dies to go with them. And again, these exclusive dies are only available in the month of September. Now this stamp set that I did not have, so I bought both products using the bundle item number, the bundle product number that's available September only. So now I got each of these for 10% off. So let's switch gears here. I'm going to flip my camera around and we'll get started on today's project, in which I'm featuring the fresh cut flower stamp set and the amazing dies that are now available to go with it. While I'm doing that, would you please share this live video and invite others to join us for this September 2nd Facebook Live. Okay, let me get these things out of the way and we're going to get started right away. So on Wednesday evening's Facebook Live, I showed you 3 different Z-fold cards, and they were just the traditional standard Z-fold cards. Today I'm going to show you a variation of those. So here's a sample of that that variation. It's right here. So I've got the same card base, 4 1/4 by 11 inches. I scored at 2 3/4 and 5 1/2, and I folded my card base the very same way as for a traditional Z-fold card. On this one, however, I did not cut separate panels for I'll say the left and the middle parts of the card base. Instead, I'm using a card front that measures 5 1/4 by 4 inches. So it opens the same way as a Z-fold card. It just gives a little bit different appearance. So we're going to make this card now, but we're going to step up this card using our new dies, and I'm going to give you several stamping tips along the way to help you enjoy your stamping experience a little bit better and to step up your cards by doing a couple of easy things. So I am going to start here. I've already cut and scored my base. 5 1/4 or 4 1/4 by 5. I'm sorry. Can you tell I just came in from outside? I was sitting outside and did my, listening to my weekly training for the blogging intensive class I'm doing, and was rushing down here, so I feel a little out of breath and out of sorts. So bear with me. I apologize. 4 1/4 by 11 inches. I previously scored at 2 3/4, flipped it over, and scored at 5 1/2. Many of you know I like to flip it over when I'm scoring if I'm going to be folding those score lines in different directions, as I do for the Z-fold card. I'm going to go ahead, right now and put a piece of basic white on the inside. This measures 5 1/4 by 4 inches. Remember, when we close this Z-fold card, it will be the same standard card size that you're used to. 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches. Fits perfectly in one of our A2 envelopes. Now I'm going to take another piece of 5 1/4 by 4 inch basic white cardstock. I'm going to stamp this large floral arrangement from the Fresh Cut Flowers stamp set. And again, this is one stamp set that is in the, I'll put it right here. I'm trying to maximize my cardstock here. It is in the annual catalog. I pressed a little heavy in that corner, but that's okay. I'm going to then color with my Stampin' Blends. You know how I love my Stampin' Blends. One tip when you're using Stampin' Blends is don't color on the lines, color just inside and get as close as you can to those lines. But don't color, what I mean by that is, let me just do a part like here. With Stampin' Blends, you don't necessarily want to be right on the line because sometimes the ink will, what do I want to say, bleeds a little bit beyond the line. So instead, I like to color just inside the lines so that when it bleeds up to the line. All right, just a little helpful tip I've come across. I typically start with a darker shade to outline things or accent certain areas, and then I fill in with the lighter shade. But whichever way you're most comfortable with works just fine. You just get a slightly different look, but really it's not a right or wrong answer. That's just my preference. When I first got the Stampin' Blends, honestly, I was a little intimidated because I'm a crafter, I'm not an artist, and to me there's a difference. But honestly, I absolutely love my Stampin' Blends. They are very easy to use. And they're very long lasting too. It's rare that I've had to replace any of my blends. And when I have, it's been because I used them with classes or workshops. So they got more use than usual. I'm talking like lots of classes and, you know, maybe a creative escape weekend where I have 50 or 60 people. So they're getting used for make and takes and things like that. Another reason why I may have replaced any Stampin' Blends, and I've done this with Daffodil Delight a lot, because sometimes I like to color my embellishments, especially rhinestones and pearls, and use them for the centers of some of my stamped flowers. And when you tend to color a lot of embellishments or ribbon, you kind of fray the tip a little bit. I don't know how well you can see this one. Okay. Let me see if I don't know if I have an example of, no, I think I got rid of, let me try this one. Yeah, there's one that I've colored with, used to color rhinestones and embellishments. Do you see how it has frayed that paintbrush tip? So now I have another pair that I use only for coloring. And this one I would use only for this large tip, only when I'm coloring rhinestones and things like that. I'm going to use the fine tip here of my Daffodil Delight and color in these teeny tiny flowers. I'm using, oops, I'm going to start with my dark. This is, my goodness, this is Soft Succulent that I'm using for some of these leaves And I'm just putting some accent marks in here. Give it a little dimension when I fill in with the light shade. And I tend to color pretty quickly. I like using the paintbrush tip. And when you're using that paintbrush tip, you're just going to touch that little tip to your cardstock and kind of drag it. You don't need to press hard. You don't need to press so hard that you're flattening that paintbrush tip. Just kind of touch the tip to your cardstock and drag it. And if you want a little more control, use the fine tip of your Stampin' Blends. And don't forget, we're not making the exact same card I showed you. It's not going to look exactly the same as my sample because we're going to step this one up. Kind of turn it from a nice card to a wow card. Oh, Tony, that is a good idea. Make a list. If you're getting some frayed tips, make a list. And then next time you place an order, you can add those blends. And the ones that are frayed, put them in a separate place. You don't necessarily need to get rid of them because they're frayed, because you can use those. I just did the opposite of what I wanted to do. You can use those to continue to color your rhinestones and things like that. So the first green I used was Soft Succulent. This one is Evening Evergreen. And I really love the way they pair so well with my Blackberry Bliss color. So Blackberry Bliss for the large flowers, Daffodil Delight for those tiny ones, and then my leaves are Soft Succulent and Evening Evergreen. Now, before I cut this out with my amazing new dies, I want to share a couple things with you. Number one, if you feel like you want, and I think there's pretty good dimension in here from blending the light and the dark shades. However, if you want even more dimension or more tone, use a color lifter. This one's kind of old and probably needs replacing, but what a color lifter does is exactly that. Takes off some of the color you've put on with your Stampin' Blends, therefore making those areas a little lighter. Can you see what I mean here? How that they've just gotten a little lighter? It's almost like magic. And you can do as much or as little as you want. You don't need to use a color lifter, but I like to have one on hand. You can also buy this in the annual catalog, just like you can all of our Stampin' Blends. But I like to have one on hand because sometimes I do want to lighten areas just a tiny bit. Okay, I might even do some here on these real dark leaves, just kind of around the edges. All right. One more thing I want to show you before I cut this out with our amazing dies. You notice I have everything filled in. I've colored right up to those black lines, but now I have all these narrow black stems. I want to give them a little bit of color, but really the tip of my Stampin' Blend is probably a little more than I want. There's no reason I can't go over those stems with this. However, I can choose to use my Stampin' Write markers, which have even smaller tips than our Stampin' Blends. And I'm just going to literally draw right over those stems. So those black line stems, I'm just drawing right over them. And it really changes that look. I'm going to do the same thing over here. And I think doing this makes everything just kind of be a little more cohesive, just a little bit nicer look to it. And one final thing is, why not add a bit of sparkle to these flowers? So I'm just going to use my Wink of Stella. Who loves Wink of Stella? Anybody love it as much as I do? Oh my gosh. It's like crazy. I just sent out 30 kits for my Bewitching class to go, and the Wink of Stella was a product that I included with both options 1 and option 2, so that people could really jazz up their little witch hats on each of the cards by adding some Wink of Stella. I'm going to do these leaves, but just a touch in the center of each. And I think that gives me just enough shimmer and shine. Jenny Graber, you love Wink of Stella. I know you do. I think every time I use it, you mention that. So I love it when somebody else gets as excited about me as some of these products. Okay, and one last bit of stamping before I die cut that. I'm going to use another stamp from the Fresh Cut Flowers stamp set. And I'm not sure if you noticed when I showed you this, it's all florals. No sentiments, nothing else, just the florals. And I'm just using this stamp as a stencil, or silhouette, I should say. Maybe that's the better word for it, silhouette. And I've stamped with soft succulent for my envelope. Now, do you see these little, here's another tip I wasn't planning on, but since it turned out like this, I need to show you. See how there are some little white spots? What I like to do is just very lightly go over those white spots with my Stampin' Write marker. Another thing you can do is use the blender pen, not a Stampin' Blend, but a blender pen, which kind of drags that ink around a bit. All right, let's do some die cutting. I'm using my Big Boss today, the standard size cut and emboss machine. So it'll be a little tricky for you to see, but I will do my best. I could raise up my camera, but when I do that, then it's gonna mess up the rest of the demonstration, because I like it kind of close so you can see details. Okay, so look at all of these stamps in this set. Again, this die set is only available in the month of September. And I would encourage you to get it early if you're really interested. What am I doing here? There we go. Because you know how it is when we have dies that are really popular. They may run out before the promotion ends, and we get the dies from overseas. So for them to be able to reorder and get more in by the end of the promotion typically doesn't happen, especially with the way things are in the world today since the pandemic. But I wanted to show you that each of the stamps has a die to go with it. However, look at all the other stamps or dies in this collection. Okay, other flowers, leaves, some tiny flowers, this fun design. So keep in mind that I would say most of our die collections now are like that. They have dies that match stamps, match the stamped images, but then they put in some that I'll call accent dies. They're just ones that you can use as extras on your cards, which we might just do. Okay, before I put this away, I'm going to, let me pull that off, use one more die. And this I want to use with a piece of soft succulent. And I'm going to put this right up to the edge of my cardstock. And I will say that this edge right here does not cut. Okay, this edge does not cut. So you could put this on, say, a card base. You'll be cutting the design into the card base, but you won't be cutting off a strip of your card base. And if you want to use just a strip with this fancy design, you just either cut your strip, your cardstock, to the desired width, or if you want just a narrow strip like this one, I'm just putting it right up to the edge of my cardstock. And now I have this, approximately ½ inch strip. And look how nicely this cuts out. Literally almost every single little square or diamond shape in there. Quick tip, before you die cut with the same die, clean it out of all these teeny tiny little pieces of cardstock that are stuck in there. The reason being, if you get too many stuck in there, your dies are not going to cut as well. And that's going to frustrate you. But sometimes you can just tap them out. We have the die brush that works really well for things like that. I'm going to, where did my whole card go? Oh, here's my flowers. I almost had a little panic there. Where are my flowers? Okay. I know that I want this to go here. Okay. Before I do that though, I want to put this on the inside of my card. Does anybody remember what's the width of our inside? The dimensions of the inside there? 4 inches high by 5 1/4 inches across. So I'm just going to cut this at 5 1/4. Easy peasy. And for something narrow like this, I like to use the multi-purpose glue. That way I can move the strip around if I need to get it straight and placed exactly the way I want it. I'm going to leave just a teeny tiny strip of the basic white showing above it. But isn't that fun? Super simple, easy way to step up your card, whether you put it on the outside or the inside of your card. Now let's finish this off. I feel like I'm going to have too much white space here. So I'm going to do a little stamping and a little coloring right here on the corner. And I previously stamped my sentiment. Now, the Fresh Cut Flowers stamp set does not have any sentiments to go with it. So I chose one from the Apple Harvest stamp set. Thanks for your kindness. I send a lot of thank you notes. I'm one of those kids that was raised with a mother saying, you will send thank you notes. And so we did. But what a great habit to get into. Really, isn't that true? A little appreciation, a little thank you goes such a long way with people. Now, I'm not going to stick these pieces to my card front yet. I just kind of want to place them here to know where I want to stamp. I'll tuck this under here because I'm going to stamp off. But this way, I'll know exactly how much of... Oh, Shar, I agree. Are these not fabulous greens? And what popular shades of green they are. My daughter's wedding, you know, Andrea and John got married at the end of June. And the girls' dresses were really, they were called eucalyptus, and between these two colors. So we use these two colors to do the invitations and such. Elegant. And then I just saw another friend's daughter got married over the last weekend or so. And those bridesmaid dresses weren't quite the same as the eucalyptus ones Andrea had for her wedding. But again, they fit right between these two greens, making these so versatile. So I'm inking up the same large stamped image I used for this, but I only want a little bit of it in this corner. So that's why I was placing these other stamped elements on my cardstock, but didn't want to adhere them just yet. Now I'm going to quickly color these as well. You also know that when you're coloring with Stampin' Blends, they do bleed through. So on my sample, because I stamped and colored on basic white, and I didn't want the bleeding to come through, I actually put that stamped cardstock on top of a piece of plain cardstock. That way I'm not getting that ugly seep-through look showing. Nobody wants to see that, right? You want it to look nice and professional. Okay, quickly color these, Mary. And I'm just going to color them the very same way, using the same colors. Blackberry Bliss, Soft Succulent, Evening Evergreen, and a tiny bit of Daffodil Delight. You know, with these Stampin' Blends, I've had people tell me, even though they don't like to color, they like coloring with the Stampin' Blends. I think because when you're finished, it doesn't look like traditional coloring where you can see all the strokes. Think of like coloring with crayons. you can see all the strokes. When you color with our Stampin' Right markers, our original markers, you can see those strokes. But this way, the colors and shades all blend in and you don't see any of those strokes. Again, giving it more of a, what I think would be more of an artistic look. So you know Stampin' Blends are my favorite coloring tool. Does anybody know my second favorite coloring tool? That's right, you get a professional look, Lori. You're absolutely correct. Does anybody remember? I like all of our coloring tools, but the Stampin' Blends are my number one. Who knows what my number two is? Anybody? Anybody know what my number two is? The watercolor pencils. Yes, I love those things. The fun thing about those is you can color just like regular colored pencils and leave it be, or you can color with them and then go over them with a blender pen, and it just kind of takes care of those, again, kind of takes care of those lines. So it's really just a matter of preference, but I feel like I have two options. Sometimes you want those coloring lines because it does give dimension. Oh, I'm going to use my color lifter again. Just add some highlights to these dark Blackberry Bliss flowers. You don't always see those highlights immediately. Sometimes you have to wait a few seconds or even go back over them again, especially with these really dark colors. You don't have to worry about the color transferring to the tip either. I don't know how it magically disappears, but it does. And that way you don't have to worry about going from one color to the next. I could certainly go right over to my greens and do the same thing and not have to worry about colors bleeding and that sort of thing. And of course, I suppose if I don't do it, you guys will tell me, add the wink of Stella. Put the wink of Stella on the flowers. I know how you all like bling. And I love that you love bling, but I also like that you like subtle bling. All right, so now I'm going to put the final steps on this card front, final pieces, I should say. And I'm doing that with my Stampin' Dimensionals, of course. Some of you may think I never make a card without Stampin' Dimensionals, but I do, believe it or not. It's not often, but I do at times. But I never have a shortage of Stampin' Dimensionals. I think just because of the price, if I need a quick add-on maybe to get me to, say, a Stampin' Rewards level, I can add on a pack of Dimensionals. 104430. It's the only product number I know in Stampin' Up. 104430. Okay, one final step here, but I need, I don't know what I did with the script. Oh, here it is, the scrap paper I had out. And I'm not going to put my sentiment on yet. I'm going to get my card base out of the way because I don't want to ick it up. But one more thing you can do is literally add a splatter of color. Take the color you want, open it up, your Stampin' Blend to the large tip, the paintbrush tip I call it, and just tap close to the paper with another blend. You can put a little, you can put a lot, whatever it is. And each time you do it, it's going to turn out a little different. Can you see that little bit of splatter of the evening evergreen? And then finally, I'll put the sentiment on. And then we'll add this to our Z-fold card base. Now keep in mind when I'm adding this to my Z-fold card base, I want to be sure that I'm only putting adhesive on that back left side. And to make sure I'm getting the adhesive in the right place, I put it on the left edge of the piece I'm putting down, and then I put it close to the fold of this front flap. That way the adhesive is only where I want it. I'm not in danger of getting it on the other part of the card, because if I do that, my card will not open and close properly. And I do want to look at the top, bottom, and right edges of this front piece of cardstock, because I want it to line up exactly with my inside piece of cardstock. See how I did that? If you line up these edges, these two corners, and just lay it on top of the flap, it will be perfect. Exactly where you want it and, and need it to be. So here is my variation on, let me pull one of the other, here it is. I'll pull one of the traditional style Z-fold cards so you can compare them. So we've got the very same card base, right? But on the traditional Z-fold card, I use these two panels of the card base as separates. And on this one where I have the variation, I'm really only covering up the front left panel, all right? But using a standard card front layer. So just another fun thing. Don't think when you see fun folds that you always have to make them exactly the same. It's nice to have some variations. And this is one for the Z-fold card. So I hope you like this demonstration. I hope you picked up some good tips on ways to step up your cards, go from wonderful to wow, or simple to stunning. I hope you picked up some stamping and coloring tips as well, and even that splatter tip, plus ways to add the accent dies in your sets to your cards and your other projects. Notice here too, some of the other accent pieces, I could have die cut some of the leaves and tuck those in, or some of the tiny flowers and tuck those in. Okay, so there you go. That is my variation on the Z-fold card with the fresh cut flowers stamp set and the exclusive dies that are available this month only. I hope you leave here today with some inspiration, and the desire to do some stamping and paper crafting of your own. Does anybody have any questions for me regarding the card I demonstrated, the promotions we have going on? Also, on my blog or in the newsletter I sent yesterday, you will want to check out the information on the free World Card Making online event. And that is scheduled for October 1st. The times are available. They are going to demonstrate 3 different cards. When I say they, I mean the Stampin' Up! Company. This is their baby, their event. Free to anybody, demonstrators, customers, followers, newbies, very experienced people, anybody and everybody, October 1st in celebration of World Card Making Day. And the times are listed on stampinpeace.com in the information there, or also in my online store for the World Card Making Day event. They will be making 3 different cards featuring 3 different bundles. And they have a special also. If you order 1, 2, or all 3 of those bundles, you will receive a package of the iridescent rhinestones, right? And I think you all love those as much as me. So you can check that out again at stampinpeace.com. They have 2 bundles that are current, and then another new bundle that they are showing for this World Card Making Day event. So I just added that one to my order this morning. So check that out. If you have any questions, please let me know. If you are not currently working with a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, I would love to be your demonstrator and earn your business. And I would start that by sending you a complimentary catalog. All you have to do is message me or email me and send me your full name, address, and your catalog request, and I will get that off in the mail to you right away. All right, I hope you all have, let me flip this because I don't like when I'm, whoops, let me see if I can flip it. There we go. That way you can see me the person, not just me, the card. And excuse me, I have no makeup on, anything today. Like I said, I was sitting outside, then I came in, I washed my hair really quick before I got down here. And I thought, I'm not doing makeup because I'm going out to wash my windows outside. It's a beautiful day, and that's been really on my list for a long time. It's been really bugging me when the sun shines in the morning and my windows look filthy. So that's my next task of the day. But here in the United States, it is Monday is Labor Day. So many of you have a long weekend with Monday off. Emily, my youngest daughter, is coming this evening, and she will be here through the entire Labor Day weekend and going back home on Tuesday morning to Cincinnati to work then. So it'll be nice to have her here for 3 days. College football starts this week. So tomorrow we'll be watching the Ohio State Notre Dame game. Go Buckeyes. I hope whatever you are doing this weekend, it is fabulous that you get to share some time with people you love and do something fun and for yourself, and perhaps even get in a little crafting this weekend. I'm not sure if I'll be doing a Facebook Live on Monday at 4 p.m. If I do, it'll be my usual time, 4 p.m. Most likely, yes, unless something comes up that Emily and I are gone doing something. But chances are I will be having it on Monday at 4 p.m. And so I hope you'll join me then for more creative inspiration. If you like what you see here today or on any of my sites, please send these or refer these sites and myself to your crafty friends and family. And be sure to share the links and the posts. And Dora says, go Iowa Hawkeyes. Doris, when was the last time Ohio State and Iowa played? I really don't know. I feel like when I was in college, which was decades ago, that Ohio State did play Iowa on a regular basis. I don't know. There were even a couple games on last night, so I caught a bit of those. But I love college football season. And I'm just saying, I think Ohio State has the best fans. So got to get out my, I'll wash my windows, and then I'm going to get out my Ohio State flag and hang that on my front porch. Have a good weekend, everybody. Thanks for spending part of your Friday, September 2nd with me. Happy stamping.